Hi, welcome to Right Brain Affairs. I'm Taylor. This is part 4 of the Gnome Family series, but it's the extended version. I've broken it up into segments. This is the first segment, extended version, where we cover making sister. And in the second segment, we'll do brother. What I really enjoy doing with scraps is making the families all look the same. And if you notice, the noses alike and the ears if they're there, their outfits. So in this extended version where we make the same as mommy, looks like we're having a problem with brother. And other big sisters seem to want to step in and save the day. And there's mom. Mom's got him in timeout. Now for the supply list. Originally we've gone over how to build a gnome body, at least my preference. But I'm going to go ahead and do it again. And I did have one subscriber who would like me to slow down. So I'll split screen and we'll do one fast and one slow. I like the circles of little cardboard in there. You can put a little glue at the bottom of the sock and it will give it some kind of solid base. I've pre-mixed rice and bath salts from the dollar store. I don't have those little curly things that get into the flour or the rice where I live. For me, it's not a problem, but you can use anything, gravel, cat litter, glass baubles. The point is you want something weighty on the very bottom. Is using a basic standard sweat sock. You can get it at the dollar store. You can get them on Amazon cheap. And about a third of it is like lentils or rice and my pre-mixed bath salts. Then I stuff it up with pillow fiber. We're doing my favorite nose, which is to take a bead or even just the filler inside the sock. And I smoosh it up, put a rubber band on or an elastic at first. Of course, as all the gnome professionals will tell you, and several of them, if you watch their videos, will really emphasize the need to tie these up tight with string as well. And one of my hacks is I like to repurpose everything. So the little elastics on the masks that we've all had to wear, I just cut those off and use those in place of string, and they work great. What I also found works best for me is keeping it open on top while I put the nose in, of course, but then almost all the way to the very end. So I have everybody situated the way I want them in the face, and I know where the hat's going. And then I snip off the extra. And we're doing a little blush here on the nose. From the dollar store, you get a paint blush, and it seems to work just fine, better than paint. We're gonna make some ears really fast. But I do have a video called Making Gnome Ears on this channel. I'll have a list of all the videos that go over each and every little part of making gnomes in the very end. What I do for measuring how much filler is I just estimate how big I want the sibling to be. I do this by approximating mama's size and baby's size. Next, my not-so-favorite nose. Sort of just, sit back, hold on to that nose, keep it pinched down. Then you just have some coffee and a cigar, and there you are. Except the bottom line is I don't trust the outside glue. I trust them when they're inside. This sibling and her braid is exactly like mama's. I've used 3 different kinds of faux fur. One was a sale item that promised to be curly, and then the inside is a lighter faux fur. I've already cut them up, and I've glued them together as 3, placing the lighter one in the middle. And now we glue them as close to the nose as possible without being over the nose. The reason for that is because it's like having a hat. You want to be able to framing it. Just the nose with the hair. And then you set it all up enough so you can brush it. And of course, hairspray is your best friend from the dollar store. It's like dampening it. And after you've brushed it, and since we're going to braid it, what I tried to do with this one was make sure that the backing stayed in the back. You never see it. And where it does finally show, I glue it together. Also, I wanted to make the colors very clear, the different textures. I need to make sure that it's not a tight braid. Now, I've done videos on braid, and all kinds of really famous, wonderful YouTuber gnomers do videos on braids. But I thought I would very quickly get the sister's braid in here. Since we're having an extended version, I'm left with just the strands from the black hair. Of course, there's some backing from the lighter. And what I do is I glue it in the back, fold it over, and then I snip off that little square end. Now we've done the entire braid. Just going to take one of those little dollar store elastics or rubber bands, whatever you call it, and I'm going to close it up so it doesn't unravel. Later, after I get her dressed, I'll pick out something fun to embellish the braid with. Okay, coming on to the second braid, and sorry subscriber that wants me to go slow. This is really rinse repeat, so I'm going to speed it up, making sure it's glued on, and finally deciding to cut the top and string it up hard. That little piece of sock is going to be arms. Trying on hats here that I'm creating. When we do a hat and scraps, me anyway, like I do everything, say the nose is a scrap of a sock or an arm, and I'm also cutting into where the sock was. In this case, one of the sisters has a 2 sock from the dollar store scraps hat. And it's that kind of fabric that's kind of nylon-y. So you definitely have to consider hemming it and then, or bordering it. And then I found one of those table runners at the dollar store long ago. And Mommy's hat is one of those. And then the scraps are also buttons and different things. But when I make a scrap hat, I am not into patterns. Because I'm dyslexic and I can't read them. So numbers mean nothing. Because I don't think it's really necessary. I know what shape I want, more or less, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Anyway, my gnomes have sort of non-perfect hats. I do have to make sure that I don't turn it the right side. So inside out glue. This fabric is from the dollar store. It's in the automotive department. And I bought a bunch of them, gave some to my son. Just frays all over. So I am going to have to hem it, and I'm not a perfect anything, so I'm doing a kind of quick job of wanting her hat to be floppy with a little rim that is floppy, which means it's just going to go all the way around using the other side of the fabric. So her hat will be a little more furry, and as I get all the way around and I cut it and add it on, it will be different sizes, not very long. And then in the end, what it should do is kind of flop around her base and her hair. All I'm doing again is just gluing it on where it sits. I didn't trim it, I didn't measure it. Dyslexic, remember? I just know that I want it to look floppy, and the glue helps it not fray out, add little lints everywhere. So on to the part of cutting it, I just approximate sort of a round similar length, and then fold it and cut with a tiny bit of embellishment. This is what it looks like when it's done. Here we are taking another scrap. We'll make her little dress, and I'm not being perfect on the shape and the size. I am going to fold them up and line them up so it's about the same, and make sure that that rounded little corner from the receiving blanket that comes from the dollar store is all the same pretty much. It's that kind of fabric that doesn't need to be hemmed, so I'm just gonna set it up with a little of this dollar store ribbon fold over, it's like tulle, to the fold of the receiving blanket with the hot glue. Doing that, I also kind of crink it in certain areas, like in darts, so that we get a little teeny bit of a ruffle, but not a lot. Pinch it up. The whole time I would watch all the videos I possibly could on how to make gnomes when I first kind of discovered YouTube and was trying to research how to make cement floors. As I'm watching them, I'm not getting a lot of answers from the screen as I'm looking at the gnomers going, why are you doing it that way? And what's that about? And how come you wanted to use that? So we're actually a couple gnome professional makers that would explain why they did certain things, and I really appreciated it. So when I started working on them and then thinking about making the videos, I thought, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it this way? And I think I have different reasons. And one of them I really want to start to address, which is giving your gnome or letting your gnome have its own personality. So for instance, you might be wondering why, and I wondered why, I'm only doing so much ruffle here when before, as you could see above, I used a lot. The only answer I can give you is, in this case, she, the little gnome girl, has her own ideas about fashion. I don't think they're the same as Mom's. That sounds kind of strange, but I've always, and I think it's kind of like the artist part of the creative part of our brain. What they've discovered and determined is the right brain. Give things personalities, I guess. And I'm taking responsibility. I somehow designated, but already this little gnome has a personality. And she likes ruffles, but she doesn't want extreme ruffles. As a matter of fact, she wants to be very sophisticated. And, you know, I'm just pre-measuring, seeing if I did make it fit. It's a little tight, but we're not talking about her weight, and I think it'll work. I just draw a simple line down the middle in this tween skirt, closing it in the front as we're in the back is pretty much the normal place. And I have a plan to embellish the front. I think it's her idea. And so we'll see how that goes. She's very happy with it. Now I'm going around the entire little gnome between, and we are not only putting her skirt on, but also starting to lay her hat down so it's solid. As you can see, I haven't folded the ruffle over completely on the hat, or the brim. I've just done it like I do everything. Just do what's in front of me to do. Coming around again, making sure it's folded and glued, a little brim, and her nose pokes out perfectly. That's how to frame it for me. Now there's different names for this dress. One of them is like pinafore, which is kind of an apron thing, or I would call it a jumper, but jumper's in somewhere else. It's supposed to be a sweater. So this is a strapped little skirt. I really like these on the gnomes. I'm making the straps, and because we really don't need a hem, I folded it over because we want a little bulk, and I'm setting where I want them to go. I haven't glued them yet. Now this little piece of scrap, which is a sock end, I have a little fold over that came with the sock. See that little hem? I like to use those when I'm using this sweat sock. Those little hems are hands, or at least the base of the hand. I might cover them with something else. Set up so that I can make it kind of a round arm, not on the very end of the fold, but kind of middle. Specifically about the fold of the sock, you know, the little hem on the sweat sock, how the hem comes on the sock, and then you can use it for a hand, where most gnomers like to use a little bead. And I do too, although I prefer the oblong shape. Now I poke it around and see where I want it, how much I want hanging down. Do you want enough so you can hold something? She's probably going to be holding an animal. And then I gluing the hat down. And now I can glue the straps in, it looks like. Fix them so that they are long enough to fold over and put a little button or some other kind of embellishment. They're the same size, they're going to come right down her waist. On her cute little pinafore. Well, anyway, apron with straps, skirt with straps. And above in the little corner gnome, tween, the little sibling, she's wearing a sweater fabric that I reused. Here's a collection of buttons. You can get them on Amazon, or maybe your grandma's got them. And these are going to be all alike. I found 3 of them, gold, pink, gold rimmed. I'm gluing now. No, you don't have to, but since I've made the backing in the back, and you can see the backing in the back, I'm gluing the back down. Not all the way fiercely, just enough. There's the 3rd little button, and she's pretty happy with herself. Coming around now to what's next, situating the arm. It's important, I think, to glue them really good, and I don't here, and I find this out later. But if you glue them well enough, they won't come off. And that's why some people glue them up the head, and I've done that too. I put the arm behind the braid, and I don't put it all the way on the head, just up a bit. I had just gotten a huge group of these sort of like plastic. I thought they were going to be fabric, but they're not. They're sort of advertised as silk. They're kind of a lace. It's an edging. It's what I use on other things that are lace, plastic, and it's a sticker. And so not melting it with my glue gun that has 2 heat levels very carefully. Use this to embellish her little dress and the straps and her hair, and very carefully with the glue, not using a lot of it. And then I don't trust the stickiness. It seems to work good so far. It hasn't fallen off. I haven't heard anything. If you've come this far, I really appreciate it. I hope you found some inspiration for your own stuff. We're coming on some shoes. I'm not really gonna do shoes. I will show you the final product here. In segment 2, I will go through the shoes. We've got brother. Here she is. And she's with mom and baby right there. This is the mom of brother. In segment 2, part 4, extended version, she's getting some platform shoes because she's really tired of being shorter than even her youngest daughter. It's a whole story. We'll tell you when we get there. See, I've already given her a personality and the baby. And of course the brother and the sister or daughter. And how that works, I guess, kind of like in acting, you take on the character. Except what we're doing creatively is, as we're working anyway for me, my inanimate object becomes something it really isn't in my mind. There is a backstory being created, maybe subconsciously. Seems pretty conscious. I'm honestly not aware that I'm doing it. But seems to be a problem solver technique. Like, I'll get stumped. What do I want to do next with all these scraps? How can I make good of them? And of course, here she is with her platform shoes, her little red gloves, and her baby and her matching hat. And the baby's not dragon. This is the list of the Gnome Family series videos, and this is the other ones. All of them I hope you can find, and you'll find them helpful. It's been a lot of fun for me. I've learned a lot. It's, of course, what most artists would snub me for making dolls, but I'm enjoying it, and as it's happening, I think I'm creatively getting there. Thanks for watching. See you next time.